Willie D Live.
It's Willie D, y'all, back with another episode of information and instructions to help you navigate through this wild, crazy, beautiful world. In the studio, attorney Audia Jones.
Yes, pleasure to be here.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Yes, I've been on your show a couple times, just never in person. So this is great.
Right, absolutely. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, whole lot going on.
Yeah.
Whole lot.
Did you have your own firm when the last time we spoke?
Yeah, I did. I've had my own firm since 2018.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big dog going up against the big dogs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
How is it like when you walk in that room and it's a big case and you're the only person that looks like you?
Right. Okay. That's a nice way to put it. I think, honestly, I think people don't know how to take me. You know, you've seen it before, the preconceived notions, the stereotypes. So I always have to make sure my first voice or my first word is my best word. Because people tend to judge as soon as you open your mouth. There are people that are probably watching this show that are like, what's this little girl about to say? And as long as you open your mouth and you're well-informed and you're knowledgeable and you know what you're talking about and you're confident, everything else is kind of easy from there. But every now and then I do have the naysayers and the people that want to run up against me head to head, and that typically doesn't end well for them. Yeah.
And your specialty is accident and injury.
Yes, accident and injury.
It's a lot of money in that, huh?
There's a lot of justice. Right, so there's a lot of justice. That's how there's a lot of justice, and that's how we get justice is through money. So you're right. Yeah, we get the money. We get the money.
I don't know any broke accident attorneys.
Yeah.
Y'all be getting that money.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, right? And for the clients that you're doing it for, as long as you know what you're doing and you're serious about it and you're passionate about it, you're right. The money's going to come. So,
is there ever a case where it's a lot of money involved and they want to settle, but justice is just more important than just settling?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get the money, but y'all got to pay for this, for what y'all did.
Oh,
are there ever any cases like that where they say, no, if we're gonna give you the money now, you're gonna have to let this slide, and you say no, we want justice on top of the money.
Yeah, so that's actually
and again, like you were just saying,
right?
Getting to the bag is part of justice.
Correct.
So I don't want anybody to misconstrue that. Sometimes people get it twisted when they hear people talk about, well, what they just want money, money. Well, money is one of the greatest ways in a capitalistic society that we live in to punish people.
Correct.
You hit them in the pocket.
Correct. And so so before I answer your question, I always tell people there's two ways you can get justice. On the criminal side, you send individuals to prison if they've committed a wrongful act, right? If they've violated the law, they've murdered somebody, they've robbed somebody, they go to prison. Well, what do you do when a company has committed a wrong against an individual? The way you cannot send a company to prison. You can't send them to jail. I mean, you can impose a fine, but really that imposition of a fine is money. And so that's how we punish companies, and that's typically who I go after are companies, insurance companies, the everyday companies that you shop at, Target, Walmart, H-E-B. So that's my answer to that. So yes, that is how you punish a company, is money. Yeah. But to answer your question, that was a great question. Yes, we have one of those cases right now that we just filed the lawsuit on, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, wrongful death case. Yes, reached out to me ahead of time. The attorney was trying to get ahead of it. Hey, Audia, I heard about you. I called around and found out. I understand you're on the case and want to get this case resolved. So we're going to go ahead and give you the policy limits of what we had. And I said, that's nice. I do appreciate that. However, you are not the only one on the hook, and we need to find out who these other bad actors are, what these other companies are that are hiding behind different shields or whatever corporate veil that they have. And the only way for us to get those answers is if we file a lawsuit against you, and the court then requires you to answer certain questions through a process called discovery. And that only takes place after you file a lawsuit. So I talked to the young man who was murdered on a property not too far, actually off of Target, near Target.
You talked to him after he was murdered?
No, I didn't talk to his mother.
No,
his mother.
Saying,
No.
You left that out.
No.
He said, I talked to a young man that was murdered.
No, I talked to the mother. I'm sorry. Yeah. Then he was actually a very close personal friend of ours. Young guy, about 23 years old, shot and killed by two 15-year-olds, right across, not too far from where that Target on South Main is.
And what was that over?
It was a robbery. We to this day, we just know that they took something that was in a book bag. We don't know what it was. The prosecutors never found out what it was. We just know it was a book bag that was in his car. He was thinking that the guys were just approaching his car to talk to him. What appeared to be a friendly conversation. I mean, broad daylight. 12 noon, people walking in and out of this convenience store.
You got the video?
I have the video? Yes, I've seen the video.
You saw him actually be murdered?
Well, what happened was the young man took the gun out, pointed it at him inside of his vehicle. You couldn't see that part. When he did, you have two choices, fight or flight. This young man decided to fight. I think he believed that was his only option when you have a gun pointed in your face. And he did. You could see his car move forward as if he had his foot just on the brakes. He put the car in park, pushed the door open, pushed the young man back behind another car. Instead of running, this young kid took the gun and went further into my deceased client's car. At that time, the young man got out of his vehicle and tried to wrestle the gun away. You see them spin behind a van, and it just so happened that van blocked the sight of the video. And one bullet was all it took. And the young kid got a hold of the weapon, shot my client one time with a hollow tip, and it tore up his insides, and ultimately lodged in his spine, killing him on the scene. So our ultimate point was, and the reason that we are suing this Mart, it's Speedy Mart, is public now. It's Speedy Mart 50. But the reason we're suing them is because multiple people have either been murdered and or injured, severely injured, paralyzed, shot on their premises. They allow it to happen. They don't have any security guards, no safety, no precautions. You can actually see drug deals taking place on the video. Right in front of the convenience store, and they did nothing. They did nothing to dissolve these issues before my client was ultimately murdered, and so that's why we're holding them and everybody else that's responsible.
Well, what if they say, look, man, we can't control people's behavior. I mean, we're just a store. We're just here to sell goods. We're not here to provide security. And like every store that you see that on the street, these other stores don't have security. Why do we have to have security?
Of course. So that is great, but in the United States of America, when you're able to get money from a customer, and even when you're not able to get money from a customer, even if it's nonprofit, you owe a duty under the law to make sure that the public is safe when they enter your premises. Your premises includes the parking lot that you have. It includes the store that they go into, the entrances, the exits. And if you are aware, either reasonably knew or should have known about instances that occurred on your property that are unreasonably dangerous, you have a duty to warn incoming customers about that danger. And so it's our position that they knew that this was a very dangerous environment. They knew that their premises was extremely dangerous. They were actually aware of what was taking place right in front of the store, which is part of their premises. So essentially the law says in exchange for getting money and being able to accept money from these customers, you have a duty to keep them safe when they come on your property. Yeah. So that's nice, but that argument, I don't believe is not going to hold up.
Yeah. You're also suing the owners of the bowling alley where Takeoff was murdered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are they the only defendants?
No, they aren't. And so a lot of times what people don't know is, oftentimes you'll see the face of these stores or these companies, and there'll be other owners that are in the background. And there are ways that we know about going to look that information up. So once we go and find that, it's not just the owner of that specific property. A lot of times they're property managers who are aware of that danger. They sign these insurance policies saying that they'll keep people safe, that they are responsible for any negligent acts. And that's why you see companies get insurance policies, because of negligent acts that take place on their property. And so in addition to that, you'll have a property owner. So oftentimes the people who own the store aren't also the property owners, and they're not also the property managers. So we go after every party who had a duty to keep these individuals safe.
So who's the other parties?
There's two other parties. One, we recently dismissed the case against them because, just like you stated, they were so far removed from it that they would not have known that this was going to happen. And so we decided as a whole, and it's not just my firm that's on it, it's a few other firms that are on it because multiple people were actually shot that evening when, unfortunately, Takeoff was murdered. We represent another party who was a manager for Quavo, and so the other party, there's a Davenport, I don't remember exactly, but it was a Cushman and a Davenport. They're two individual companies in addition to 810 Bowling. Mm-hmm.
Given the complexities of the Takeoff case, what prosecutorial discretion do you think that could be used to balance public pressure, evidence, and justice?
And when you say prosecutorial discretion in deciding who to file the lawsuit against, who not to, is that what you're talking
Exactly.
about? A lot of times you'll be able to determine like what's extreme and outrageous. And when I say extreme and outrageous, I mean in a legal sense. So if I can get on the computer and Google a location and determine off top, let's take aside me being an attorney, but if I can Google that particular property and 6 or 7 or even 3 or 4 serious incidents come up that are similar to the type of case that my potential client has come to me with, that's when I know, hey, you guys had a duty to mitigate these risks or inform the customers, hey, this is a potential risk when you come on our property. You may get shot. We have a series of dangerous individuals that are typically hanging around here. And having known that, what steps have you taken to mitigate those risks? Did you get a security officer? Did you get patrol? Oftentimes you'll go to different places. We know Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church is not far. They have multiple security officers that drive around that church. You have other locations. Sometimes the Target parking lot, you'll see those people, the security officers on the scooters. HEB parking lot, you'll see security officers on the scooters. And so you'll have these companies, not all of them, but too often you'll have these companies that fall way below the standard of care. And all they're concerned about is getting the money from the customers, but not have a care in the world about making sure that those customers are safe.
That happens at a number of nightclubs across the United States of America every single night.
Yes.
They hire these guys who are supposed to be security, right? Yeah. These bouncers and things of that nature. And some of those places, the fights happen so frequently, it becomes like part of their routine. It's like, okay, we're going to have X amount of fights tonight. We're going to need X amount of people because this size crowd that we have. If the club says, look, we hired security, we got security, we have bouncers, and, we can't stop these people from shooting each other every weekend. Because there are some clubs out there where people get shot every weekend. And the clubs are still open. And I know it was like that when I was coming up in the clubs.
Right.
So how do you as a lawyer plead your case to a judge or to a jury that there's some negligence involved here?
Gotcha. So that kind of goes back to the question you had asked earlier, the prosecutorial discretion as far as which cases to take, which cases we believe will be successful, and which cases will most likely be unsuccessful. And even though it's unfortunate, you're saying that there are multiple people that have gotten shot and killed on certain premises. All of them are not going to be liable, right? There are going to be some that take these reasonable steps, that go get off-duty officers, that have the video cameras, that have people in place. There's what we're doing and what the law does is hold people to a certain standard. They say you have a duty, if you are aware of these dangers, to make sure you're mitigating your risks. We understand you cannot stop them all. You can't make sure that nothing happens. And that's an impossible standard to hold anybody to, even a company. So we're not going to go after the ones who are at least reaching that standard and saying, okay, we understand we have these bouncers, but now we've gotten off-duty officers. In the meantime, they're able to arrest people. They are able to call into the DA's office and accept charges. They can go a step further than the typical bouncers. They have the security cameras in place. If they're doing everything that they're supposed to do under the law, and then something ends up happening ancillary to that, there's only so much that they're capable of doing. And those are the type of companies that we wouldn't necessarily go after. It's the ones that are falling so far below the standard of care. So multiple people are getting shot, but you still have no security guards at all, not even an off-duty security guard. You have no video camera. You don't have coverage that can cover all parts of your parking lot. At no point in time do you have an individual that even drives around the parking lot or even stops in the store to check on the customers or see what's going on. Those are the type of companies that we are going after, and those are the ones that will be held responsible.
With how many security personnel did they have at the bowling alley the night Takeoff was killed?
None.
Zero.
Not one.
At no point of the night? Was
None. Not one.
They didn't have somebody there at 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7
No.
and they had to go home at some point?
Not one. And so, again, this is public information. Obviously, there's only so much I can go into because it's ongoing litigation that we're involved in. But even from the public filings that you saw, that you can take a look at, that we filed a petition, the lawsuit against the bowling alley and the subsequent owners, at no time did they have security. And even yourself, you're an entertainer. You are a celebrity, right? And so there are certain expectations that you have going into a facility, a nightclub, somewhere where you're invited. They're aware that you're coming, and they understand that level of care that you have to take when you have a celebrity in your presence and on your premises. How do we keep them safe? What do we need to do? So let's say they would have had security. Like typically, let's say they would have 2 security guards. If you know a celebrity's coming and we can prove that you knew that somebody with a celebrity status was coming, you have a duty to make sure that you have enough security. You might have to go above and beyond the ordinary night to make sure that these individuals are safe and that they're accounted for. And we know you can't stop everything, but you have to make reasonable steps to make sure that they are safe.
You know what? To your point, I was in jail for a crime, allegedly. And I was minding my own business, just, laying in my bunk, and they come in the middle of the night and say, Dennis, they moving me, trying to, I'm like, what the hell going on?
Right.
First thing come to my mind, I'm like, I'm supposed to be settled in. I ain't supposed to be moving. Mm-hmm. First thing I come to my mind, maybe they're going to try something,
Right.
So I got my guards. I'm saying, what's going on? They said, they're moving you. I don't know. They, the warden just asked for you to be moved. Mm-hmm. So I get in my cell. I said, I need to know what's going on. So they put me in isolation.
Right. Yep.
And because I was, at first I was in general pop.
Right.
And they put me in isolation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't want to be in no damn isolation. I don't want to be in here by myself, man.
Right.
I need to, be able to move around. So I protested, mm-hmm. and they called the warden who was at home, and the warden told him, well, get him to sign a waiver. Mm-hmm. We have to do this for his protection and our own protection.
Correct.
Because we don't want to be liable if something happens to him.
And that's what it comes down to. It was for their protection, not so much yours.
And that's exactly.
Right.
And that's the prison doing this.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
If they're taking these type of precautions in mm-hmm. prisons and in jail cells, mm-hmm. then you would think at the very least they would do this type of thing, in the free world,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you got a chance to see firsthand. It's
I
not.
saw it.
It wasn't really for your protection.
It wasn't.
Now they'll label it as,
Exactly.
hey, it's for your protection.
Exactly.
But that was really to cover their tail for liability purposes.
Yeah.
So should something have happened to you, they knew that they had a celebrity in that cell. They knew that they had a celebrity in general population, and the chances of something happening to you are more heightened than the regular individuals that were in that general population.
Right.
So what do we need to, what are these, remember those reasonable steps we talked about? Because it would be reasonably foreseeable to see, okay, someone may target you because you're a celebrity. Someone may try to extort you because they believe you have X, Y, and Z. So what do we need to do as the jail? I'm speaking from the jail's perspective. What do we need to do to mitigate those risks? We send them to isolation. Now, you didn't do anything wrong, but again, that was simply to cover their cover them financially.
Yeah. Do you have any type of fans from Takeoff asking questions, calling your firm and these type of things, or going on social media saying, "Yo, what's up?"
No, we do get a lot of calls for wrongful death. Unfortunately, a lot of times people have become more aware that they do have a right to file a claim against companies for a loved one being killed on private property. A lot of times in our community, we have no idea that we're able to pursue a claim against a company. We think, okay, our loved one has passed away at the hands of somebody else on this property. There's nothing I can do. Let's just go ahead and have the funeral and we'll move on. We'll grieve and we'll try and make it through. But that's absolutely not correct. We have people that call now that have become more informed because it was a celebrity. And they see that our firm is included on this lawsuit. So they will call. I've had people call and say, hey, my son was murdered at this apartment complex, but it would be outside of the statute of limitations. This happened in 2020. Well, after 2 years, the law says there's no recourse. There's no recourse to go after that company. So when something does happen, yes, you want to immediately call Audia, give us a call, and we'll walk you through it. We'll talk you through it. We'll counsel you through it, and that's what we do. That's what we're here for.
So I'm looking at this business card.
Mm-hmm.
It really ain't a business card. It's more like a business plate.
Right.
Law offices of Audia Jones PC.
Yes.
Now, got your picture. How much does something like this cost? I mean, this looks expensive.
You know, it costs as much.
Looks like it costs as much as a whole box of regular cards.
Right.
One of these.
That may be true. I don't know. You know, I plead the fifth. But what I will say is we intentionally create cards, and I do call them the emergency card, right? So your gold card, take out your gold card. If you are in an accident or you have been injured or somebody has wrongfully been killed, I want to make sure that it is a device that you keep on you at all times. Most people will stick it in their wallet. It's not something you just throw away, right?
Yeah.
And so in times of emergencies, what do people do? They typically panic, and you're looking for something and you just can't find it. Most people throw away business cards. Most people, you know, even if they took a picture of it, they're digging through all their pictures. How many pictures do most of us have on our phone? Usually thousands. So that is a card that incentivizes my potential clients to just stick it in their wallet and call us in the event they're in an emergency.
Yeah, you got the QR code on here.
Yeah.
You can click on the QR code and get on down to business.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's say I got a problem.
Okay.
I got an accident here, and I need to come to Audia. I need Audia to save me.
Yes.
I need you to help me out. I need some relief.
All right.
Man, what's the cut? How much I got to give you?
Oh, man. So it's free. So it's free until we don't get anything unless we win for you.
And when you win for me.
When we win for you.
How much you get and how
we
much
do. And honestly, most attorneys don't even talk about this, but this is how transparent we are. We do the standard. We don't take anything above and
What's
beyond.
that, 35?
33 and a third before we actually file the lawsuit. And then 40% once the lawsuit's filed. But remember, the 40%, even when we're in the course of litigation, costs, right? So we're filing the lawsuit. The courts charge for everything. And of course, we have to do our motion practice. We have to do depositions. We go down to the court. We're arguing in front of the judge. We are digging. We have our private investigators involved. We have to retain experts. So there's a lot of work. And I just love what I do. even if it wasn't for the money, I would probably, I was made for something like this, honestly. So I wake up every day looking forward to this.
What do you think the percentage is? Well, you know the percentage, but what is the percentage of cases that you take on? Would it be called pro bono up front if you know that you're going to file, but later on you may get some bread out of it? Would that be called anything up front where they're not spending money up
contingency?
front?
So all of our cases are on contingency basis.
Okay, so contingency. Okay,
yeah.
So
right.
On contingency, what's the percentage of cases have you taken that turned out to be a dud? Like you didn't even get paid nothing. You pretty much did this case for free. You didn't get a nickel out of it. And you spent your money. In fact, you in the hole. You in the red on this.
Yeah, I would probably say about 10% of our cases.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I would say 10%, I will say I have an amazing team. So shout out to my team at the law office. But we do a very good job vetting our potential new clients. Most of our duds, sometimes we will have clients that will come in if they've been involved in an accident, let's say a truck accident or car accident. And they just, people don't see long term. They may come in and say, well, I just can't make it to treatment. I can't, I'm hurting. And we explain to them, I always explain to them, I understand that you're hurting. I've been involved in accidents. And so I've seen both sides of the coin. And I understand it is an annoyance on your life. But what happens in the long term is essentially what you're telling the insurance company is, I'm not hurt. I'm not injured because you're not an expert, right? So I can't call my client to the stand and say, hey, tell the jury why. They can tell them, hey, I'm hurting, and they can tell them my back is injured, but you can't get down to the nitty gritty. I have 2 slipped discs, or, I live paycheck to paycheck and I couldn't afford to do it. Now we can go and we can put that in front of the jury, but opposing counsel, you're giving too much wiggle room for them to come back and say, well, if you were so hurt, why didn't you get treatment?
Right.
So I do have, every now and then, for the most part, we have amazing clients. They do what they need to do on the front end to go make sure that their health is good, that they get checked out, and that we have the evidence we need to move forward against the companies. However, we do have those times where we have individuals that are just refuse to go to treatment or do what they need to do, which makes our job very difficult at that point because it's difficult to prove without evidence, right? So
it's almost like a rapper who don't want to go on a promo tour.
Correct. Or you don't want to go in the studio. All you want to do is kick
exactly.
it. You're skilled,
right.
but you don't want to record.
Yeah.
And so
and to that point, I had found myself involved in an accident years ago, and it was like this guy hit the back of my buddy's car, like he had to be traveling at least 60, 70 miles.
Right.
And we were at a stoplight. We were at a red light, and I went on by my business. The next day, I'm playing basketball.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking I'm good.
Right.
The next day, I'm playing basketball. I go up for the rebound, come down, and I can't move.
Oh.
I'm like, I can't.
Right.
Can't nothing move.
Right.
They got to lay me back on the court.
Oh, wow.
I got to lay on the court. And that taught me a lesson right there.
Yep.
After that, I made the call and then I went and got treated or whatever. But
right.
Those injuries can come back to haunt you.
Oh, yeah.
And it don't have to be the next day. Sometimes it might be the next month. It might be the next year.
I was going to say it could be the next year.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is when you're involved in an accident, your body goes into a fight or flight mode. And a lot of people don't know that your adrenaline kicks in. And your adrenaline was put in our system to help us, pretty much brace ourselves. Or there's times where you're involved in an accident, you don't know it's coming, you're not able to brace yourself. But after it happens and you become aware, your adrenaline goes up. That adrenaline masks a lot of pain. It can mask mental haziness, so what's known as traumatic brain injury. I have a lot of clients that have gone through that have suffered traumatic brain injury that doesn't show itself until a year later. I have some clients that are injured right away and get taken by the paramedics, but oftentimes most people do what you do or what you did and say, hey, I'm fine. We'll exchange information. Should something happen, I'll give you a call. I don't need to call an attorney. Typically, we get a lot of our calls usually on the second day of the accident. Once those injuries start kicking in, that adrenaline goes down and your body becomes aware of what the trauma it's been through. And what people don't understand is, a car, a vehicle, whether it's a truck or a car, is considered a deadly weapon. And if you get hit even at a minimal speed, that is still a deadly weapon, and it could cause severe injuries. Even the slightest hit can cause a slip disc or, like I said, a TBI, what's known as a traumatic brain injury. It could cause a concussion, right? That's the movement of your brain hitting either side of your skull. And so it doesn't take much for that to happen. But yeah, oftentimes people wake up and have just in excruciating pain saying, well, the other day I thought I was fine. And so those are the people. That's why we put out the videos we do on our Instagram to try and give people information ahead of time. So they call us right away. They don't wait until that pain starts kicking in or they get caught in a situation where they're having a good time and now life is completely stopped for them. And then they're like, well, what do I do? The time period is past. No, call us right away. Let us handle it. The worst that can happen, you get treatment, you get treated. They say, hey, it's not severe. And you go on about your business. We get you the justice you deserve and life moves on. Best case scenario is, hey, you've come to us before you felt those injuries. Now those injuries start kicking in. Now you're like, thank God I came to you because now I'm going to make sure that I'm compensated not just for now, but I'm compensated for in the future what I may suffer. So
you ever had a client where, when they come in, you sign all the paperwork, they know what the terms are and everything, and then after the money come in, they don't believe that you should have as much as you're getting.
Never.
You never had that?
Never. Not on the accident and injury side. I've had people, unfortunately, one or two clients like that on the employment side when I used to do employment. Yeah. But we no longer practice that area of law. We strictly focus all of our skills and ability on accident and injury. But really, we do such a good job vetting people. And it's really about character. What I always explain to people as an owner of my own law firm, we determine who we want to take. So just like clients go around and they call around the firms, people hire you based off of, do we get along? Do I like you? Do I like your processes and procedures? Are you talking to me like a human being, right? When you go and select who you want to work with, well, same thing goes for us. So on the flip side, we say, is this the kind of individual we want to deal with on a long-term basis? Is this someone that takes instructions well? Is this someone that has an open line of communication? Are we able to reach them? Are they calling our office line 15, 20 times and not doing what they're supposed to do. And so we make a determination pretty quickly based off of character. Hey, okay, this is the kind of person we want to work with. So we really have never had that issue, knock on wood. I feel like now that I'm saying that, but knock on wood, yes, we have never had that issue.
You being the principal party in your firm.
Yes.
How do you balance all of these clients who want to talk to you? They don't want to talk to an assistant. They don't want to talk to the second in charge or third. The name on the firm say Audia Jones.
Yes.
I want to talk to Audia.
Right.
How do you balance talking to everybody, making sure that everybody feel comfortable and that they're being catered to?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my clients can always talk to me. Now, what I do have to do, we schedule the time that is allotted for me to be able to talk to my clients weekly if need be. So if I have a client that's just like, hey, I want to speak to the attorney. I do have some clients like that. For the most part, they get along great with my team. My team is very understanding. They've been trained well. All they are is an extension of me. So these women are wonderful. But yes, every now and then they'll say, hey, let me talk to Audia. Not a problem. Let's go ahead and get your time scheduled. Once we get a time schedule, I'm right there on the meeting and they can talk directly to me.
So you said these women, there are no men that work for you?
No, we don't. We are, and this is not intentional. This is not intentional. But, we've always been honest in our conversations. I do find that sometimes, and I've interviewed some guys for positions. And shout out to all the guys out there. I'm married. My husband's amazing. I love our strong men. But sometimes I do feel like it is difficult for men to take instructions from someone that looks like me, maybe someone that has a baby face, or I'm doing it X way, and as long as I get it done, well, no, not in this firm. There's a certain standard that we hold ourselves to in order to have such great clients and to be so successful. So I haven't come across that yet, where I've had a gentleman come that wants to interview that is willing to be open-minded as far as taking instruction from me. So.
Right. What's your thoughts on AI being introduced to law? Like, do you think there'll ever come a time where they'll have AI, where AI will impact the jobs of judges and prosecutors?
Ooh, judges and prosecutors. So we're talking about in the criminal.
Will they take the place? AI.
And on the criminal side?
Yeah.
Never. Never. It's impossible. It's impossible as far as just completely replacing them. Now, does AI play a large role in the legal field? Absolutely. When it comes to drafting, when it comes to motions, when it comes to answering phones, when it comes to recording information, taking client statements, that is potential too. However, you are always going to have that face-to-face component when you're going to have to be in the courtroom. You're going to have to stand before a judge. A judge is going to have to give an actual ruling, make decisions, hand out prison time, issue certain time as far as like a deferred adjudication or parole. So do I believe it will ever completely take the place of in the criminal world? Never. Never.
Well, it's taking the place in law enforcement. They got some cops. Some robo-cops.
Oh,
some real
robo-cops. Okay. But so I still see the real cops out there.
Coming, though. I see a lawsuit coming with that.
And, I think it depends on the laws that are created around it, right? I have never dug too far into the laws around AI, but what I can imagine is if there's a robot police officer, I'm assuming they're going to have pretty much the same type of legal coverage as a real officer, right? So it's not just about...
So he going to get off.
Right. That's what we've been seeing. You got to call a spade a spade. I mean, honestly, it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate and it is horrific. On the criminal side, yes, there has not been much justice for people that have been shot and killed by officers. But again, that is why you have the civil side, and that's why we're here fighting for justice every day. We may not be the criminal side, but we are a side that will get the family justice should that occur.
In your opinion, are dogs necessary to police? Like, and if so, like, why? That is a good question. I mean, I don't really know. I've never been a law enforcement officer. Obviously, I've been in law enforcement as a prosecutor. I'm trying to remember, were there ever any cases where I had a dog that hit on something? And really, it's just to determine probable cause, right? Because a lot of times when you see the dogs, they're sniffing for drugs. They're sniffing to smell out paraphernalia or weapons. A lot of times at the airports, at different event venues. Sometimes you performed before. They've had dogs that will sniff out weapons. So I will say I'm sure there are some cases out there where they are beneficial. There are obviously there are bad actors in every bunch, and so you do have those individuals, those officers that will use those dogs as a precursory, just a reason to stop somebody. Obviously, I don't agree with things like that, but there are always going to be a statistic of individuals that are going to use it as an abuse of power. So yeah, I think using the dogs to sniff out drugs, okay, cool, but when you use that dog you let that dog inside people's cars and let them dogs rip up people's upholstery inside of their car, or you turn that dog loose and you let that dog bite a patch of meat out of somebody. Right. You let them dogs maim people, because some of those officers, just like you have uncivilized mutt officers, you have you have uncivilized mutts dogs, right?
In a literal sense.
Yeah,
but they're only doing what they're trained to do at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there are officers out there who use those dogs, who turn those dogs loose on people when people are actually in compliance.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to the standard of care. And so everything we do in this world really turns back to holding people accountable, right? And so in a sense where you have an individual who is, maybe accused of crime, maybe they did commit a crime, but at that time they're no threat and they still let the dog go against them, you'll never be able to return that pound of flesh back to them. But the way we get justice is by hitting them in the wallets, and it goes after the city and the county. And what a lot of the taxpayers don't understand is that when officers misbehave and they act unreasonably or are extremely aggressive or they act with conscious indifference. It's called conscious indifference. You understand the probability that this individual is going to get hurt. They're on the ground handcuffed and you let the dog go on them and they're probably going to rip up their arm or could cause severe damage to their head, face, and you still move forward with that. Well, you got to be held accountable. And if the criminal side won't do it because they say, hey, they were acting within a scope of their employment or their profession at that time and it was reasonable force, well, that's when the civil side, that's when we come in and say, hey, someone's been injured, potentially killed as a result of the negligence of this officer or their conscious indifference, and we go after the police. So,
why is it easier to get a favorable judgment on the civil side against a police officer as opposed to the criminal side?
So it's the standard that you're held to. So on the criminal side, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Right. And so essentially what that means is, and the reason I know that, again, I don't know if we talked about it, but I was a prosecutor for nearly 5 years. So when you go into court, when I used to go into court and argue for potential for cases where I believe the individual was guilty, and there were many cases I didn't take because I did not think the people were guilty. But in the cases where I believe the people were guilty and the evidence pointed towards that, we had to prove to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. So that means beyond one reasonable doubt in their mind that the evidence essentially just points directly at there is really nobody else that could have committed this crime but this person. And so the standard of care on the civil side is much lower than on the criminal side. So that's why it's an easier obstacle. And I don't even want to say easy. It's still not easy because a lot of stereotypes come into play. A lot of people think that, oh, well, this is the civil side. It's much easier. And then the criminal side so different. No, the jury has those same stereotypes. And oftentimes the stereotypes are, oh, look at this Black Hispanic person, or look at this woman, or look at this man coming in here, and all they want is money. And so it's our job to say, hey, back to what we talked about. There's two ways that you can get justice. You can seek justice on the civil side, and the way to do is by sending a message, hitting someone in their pockets, or on the criminal side, which is what we don't control, right? That's the prosecutor's office, and that's sending someone to prison. So
yeah, see, I don't even respect when people say, well, what all they want is money, all they want. Yeah. I don't respect that at all because I know for a fact if they were in the same position, they would go for the money, right?
Absolutely.
I know that for a fact. You only really hear people saying stuff about they just want money when it is not a white person. That white woman that sued McDonald's for her hot coffee because the coffee burned her lip. Right. Burned her tongue.
Her leg. It was her leg. It spilled on her leg.
Yeah, but she got millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, this is common sense. Look, I drink tea almost daily. Sometimes the damn tea is way too hot. Sometimes I have to let the tea sit literally 5-10 minutes before I can drink it. Right.
Well, let me say this to your point. So for everybody out there listening, you hit on the perfect topic, and I can never explain enough how many biases exist on the civil side just as it exists on the criminal side. The only difference is a lot of times it's held against the plaintiff, which is strange, right? You think, hey, someone comes in, they say, I've been injured. Let me show you. I've been wronged. And now I'm the one that's in the hot seat as if I'm the defendant. And oftentimes you see that with our Black people that are plaintiffs, with Hispanic people that are plaintiffs, even white people if they're lower income or don't look a certain way or have a certain amount of money. Those biases do come into play. And I always tell people that's why it's very important to pick your attorney properly. You want to get somebody that looks like you, that represents what you represent, that understands this may come into play, that is more than likely going to come into play when you have to pick out of a jury of 100 people that 80% are typically white, right? And you go in front of them and you have to explain, I'm nervous to go to trial on this case because I believe my client's not going to get a fair shake. I feel like you're going to look at them and you're going to judge them based off of what you see on TV. You may have never talked to them, but because they're dressed a certain way or because they look a certain way. I had a case like that not too long ago. We got a hung jury. We're about to go back and retry the case. And so, and a hung jury is great in the civil world. You literally almost never see that happen. My client, great young man, gold teeth. Right? He has permanent golds. And so now he's in the hot seat because of the way he looks, but I attack those issues head on from the beginning. Mm-hmm. When we're searching for the jury, I want the racist people, the people who are going to judge my client, say he doesn't deserve anything because he's walking around with gold teeth. I want you, show yourself so I can get you off the jury. I need people that are going to be fair, unbiased, look at my client, hear his injuries, hear what they went through, and understand if that was them in that seat, no matter what they look like, they would want the justice that they deserved. And so that's why I am so good at my job, and that's why most people that look like me call me. Because they understand as an attorney, most civil attorneys don't look like us, and they can't understand the plight that they may encounter when they get to trial.
So I get it why most people that look like you call you.
Yeah.
What I don't get is why most people who don't look like you don't call you. And this is my point.
Okay.
Come on in, white folks. All my white fans, y'all come on in. I'm finna give y'all some game. I'm about to give y'all some game, but you gotta have an open mind to get this game. To receive it, you're gonna have to have an open mind. Imagine yourself in church. You know how you be sitting in church and you just have an open mind and the preacher preaching?
Right.
And if he ain't saying nothing that apply to you, you let it fly. But when he hit, you go, damn, did I tell him that? How did he know my business like that, right?
Right.
Let me tell y'all something, white folks. When it comes to Black professionals, more than likely, they are going to be the best. And here's why. Because they are held to a higher standard. It's going to be difficult for them to cheat on that bar. It's going to be difficult for them to cheat when they are trying to get that medical degree. It is going to be difficult for them to cheat in any capacity because they're being watched with a microscope. And there are people who don't believe they deserve to be an attorney, to be a certified public accountant, to be a doctor. So they're just waiting on them to fail. They're looking for any type of chink in the armor.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, and that Black person who is the professional also knows that they're under the microscope and they're being scrutinized and that they have to be excellent. So this is why I'm actually more comfortable with Black professionals than anybody else, because I know that it's difficult for them to not be excellent, to be in their position. They have to be 10 times better, you know. My LASIK surgeon, Dr. Bruce January, shouts out, one of the best in the game. He's done over, I think, like 300,000 LASIK surgeries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's the best, absolute best, right? This guy don't miss.
Okay.
But he knows he can't miss because all it takes is one time.
Yeah.
And his business could probably get shut down. Anybody else? Oh, it was just a mistake.
Right.
But with us, same thing with those of us who own restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can't miss.
Every day.
You miss one
every
time.
day. I'll never go back to another black
never
restaurant.
Go back.
Not even just that restaurant.
Else,
I'll just never go back to another black restaurant.
Exactly. But somebody else, they get chance after chance after chance after chance. Yeah. Same thing with a black contractor or something. You know, mess up one time, get something wrong. Man, that's why I don't mess with it.
Right,
you know?
right.
What can we do about the coons?
I mean, I'd like them to stay far, far away from me. Honestly, I have nothing for you.
Yourself,
honestly,
right?
I go places where I'm accepted, and I work with clients that accept me and that are excited to have me as a representation because they know I'm not going to back down. Even though most of our clients look like us, there are many clients that look nothing like us. Asian people, Hispanic. We have clients that are from all walks of life. I will be honest. And that speaks volumes to our reputation, to our referral base. Most of our clients come from referrals. So no matter what their race is, if they have gotten information for someone close to them to say, hey, they are a beast, like she is a beast, call her, don't call anybody else. They will call us and they will stick with us. We've gotten great results for them. So I've been able to overcome that, and that's the way you overcome it. I will say, not every black professional is great. I know some colleagues that I'm like, you making us look bad. Right. You're making us look bad. I've gotten some cases that have come to me, and some of our colleagues that look like us have sat on cases. I'm like, look, if you don't do accident and injury, stick to what you do. It's like going to a heart surgeon for dental work. You can say, oh, they're both doctors. Well, no. There's specialties in every profession. Mm-hmm. So if you've been involved in an accident injury case, go to an accident and injury attorney. Don't go to someone that does everything. They do everything. They're gonna be spread across the board. Right. But back to your point, to help the coons, I can't help the coons. I don't want no parts of them. I've never been interested in them. I have no energy for you. If you're listening, don't call me. Don't call our firm. We're probably not the right place for you. There's probably many other firms you can call, but don't call us. But everybody else, call Audia.
Yeah. So what's the goal? Like, what's the goal as far as like? I know you got the firm going.
Yeah.
How many people you have?
We have 5.
You have 5
5
people?
Employees. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, is the goal to expand to be like one of those firms where people can't get in touch with you?
No, that's never been my goal. At the end of the day, I am driven by a passion just to protect people that can't protect themselves. What really drives me is I can empathize before I went to law school, and having been in situations where I felt like I was wronged or done dirty by somebody and just didn't understand how the rules of the game, right? So essentially now I put myself in the position where I understand the rules of the game. So when I have people that come to me and like, hey, they're taking advantage of me because I don't know the rules of the game, my like you say, my bulldog is turned on. I'm like, point me in their direction. Let's handle this. So I strive to always be able to give that type of service, that boutique service, so a big firm feel, but we're still going to maintain a small firm. When we get to a certain number, we will start capping the clients we intake until we are able to resolve some more cases and say, hey, now we're back open. So just very selective. It's like going into the Hermes store, right? They don't make 1,000 or 100,000 or 1,000,000 of everything. They focus on providing the best quality at the best price, and only a certain number of people can get it. And that's how we will stay.
What's a legal loophole that you wish everybody knew?
You always have rights. You might not know what those rights are, but you always have rights. And if you call soon enough, just to at least get information on the front end. If you don't know, just err on the side of caution. Reach out to somebody. Even if you reach out to me and say, hey, we will let you know, hey, this is not our expertise. This is not the area of law we cover. Here's who I suggest you contact. And call them now, because you don't want your window of time your window of opportunity to be missed, where you can have recourse. And now it's 3 years down the line, and you're sitting there, and there's nothing that you can do at that point. It's better to err on the side of caution. Err on the side of caution. Call us, even if it's not something we do. We'll point you in the right direction. But like I said, my passion is just a fight. and to stand up for people that can't stand up for themselves. So that's another way of me standing up for people, even if I can't help them in that particular area.
Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a case and you thought you had it down pat? Like, I'm about to slam dunk this thing. I got this.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, something happened that made you rethink your legal strategy.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've rethought my legal strategy before. I'll give you one that's kind of funny. I don't know. He might be watching. We'll get a good laugh about it. I won't mention any names, but it was earlier on. It was a car accident case, right? And this is in its simplistic form. Car accident case. Everything's going well. We're getting to the end. He did everything he was supposed to do. He was really hurt. Went and got treatment. Fast forward. Most cases don't go to trial or don't get resolved typically till about 2 years down the line. Any event. My client didn't listen. We said, hey, put your, don't post about the accident on social media. Make your page private because they are always looking. And when I say they, opposing counsel, insurance, they are always looking for ways to prove you were never really hurt. This is all a fraud. And when we get in front of this jury, we're going to make sure we show the jury. Well, my client had video of him in Jamaica dancing on one of those bamboo rafts. Not long after the accident. I mean, shortly after. And it can be explained away. It can always be explained. But the moves that he was, the moves that he was making, I sat down and talked to him. I said, sir, you really hurt your case. I'm very honest. We're very transparent. We gave you specific instructions in the beginning. You decided not to follow them. He understood. And he was like, you know what? You're right. And I said, hey, it's best that we resolve this case for a little bit less than what we were hoping for. We were hoping for to get you the policy limits, which is what you deserved. However, it's going to be very difficult for you to explain the type of moves you were doing on that video in Jamaica on a raft that's unsteady on the unsteady waters. And the likelihood of them believing that you were really hurt to the extent that you were, it's just going to be very difficult, right? It's not what's fact, but what you can prove. And so because I explained the difficulty of that, I've been in front of several juries, so I know how they take a lot of things. I just said, it's better to have a bird in the hand than two in the bush. So he agreed with me. He went with my advice, great client, and we settled maybe for about $5,000 under policy limits. So he kicked about $5,000 off the table for his justice. What's
the strategy for negotiating that money? Like, I'm very interested in how. I have no ambitions to become a lawyer, but listen, I've always been very intrigued by law. Yeah. And when it comes to accidents and making that settlement, like, how do you determine when you're going to settle? If they put a number out there, how do you determine? Okay. That's a fair number. Right. I know you got to go to your client and actually tell your client this was on the table. Of course. Do you tell your client every number they put out?
If it's already a number under what we've discussed, I don't need to go back to them and get reauthorization. If it is a different number than we discussed, yes, I do go back to them. But to your point, I will tell you what I tell. I've been on like somewhat of a school tour talking to young kids. We were recently at Incarnate Word. I did a panel. And it was funny. They're like, how are you so successful? What makes you different than other civil firms? And I said, what makes me different is that I was actually a prosecutor prior to this, right? So my job literally almost every day or every other day for that 5-year term, I was in trial. 95% of civil attorneys have never seen the inside of a courthouse, a courtroom. They've never stood before a real jury. They've stood before a panel of peers, so other attorneys that they've paid to come in and be like a trial jury where they can practice in front of them. But I have stood in front of individuals, and I have tried almost every type of case. And I've seen the fairest jurors, and I've seen the most illogical juries, and stuff that I would have never thought about had I not actually tried cases before this. A lot of people think it's almost like book. It's cookie cutter. Oh, we'll just go up there and we'll argue the facts, And if someone's telling you that and they've never litigated tried cases, that's not who you want. And because you have to take those things into consideration. How are they going to look at my client? What are some things I need to argue to get their biases out of their mind, to keep them from believing, well, we're just here so this little person can get some money. That's all they're here for. Well, no, it's more than that. It's more than what you see on the surface. People tend to watch so much television. I used to say that in my criminal trials. I'm like, 95% of Americans spend most of their time, if not all of their time, watching television. And when you watch television, it plants a lot of stuff in your mind, whether these preconceived notions, these biases. So when you hear someone talk a certain way, you equate it with X. If you hear someone that may have a certain dialect, you're going to equate it to something else, right? And so all of those things come into play in the human mind, whether you want them to or not. And those are things as a trial attorney, I understand. So when I'm negotiating with those adjusters or the attorney, I talk to them as if I'm in front of the jury right then. So I lay stuff out and I'm like, I just want you to know I have tried cases, several cases, not even on the criminal side, but on the civil side. When I get in front of a jury, this is what I'm going to explain. And this is exactly what I'm going to show them. Here's what you guys are going to say. And I understand that this is a weakness in our case, but let me tell you the strengths in our case. And then let me tell you why a jury is going to hate to hear what your defendant did at this car accident scene or at this truck accident or with this wrongful death case. Let me explain to you what I know and what I've seen in my experience as someone who has tried several cases. And I have had adjusters and other attorneys say, I have never had an attorney who was able to lay it out to me like you did or articulate the way you were going to defend at trial or prosecute us at trial. And you know what? Because of that, we're going to go ahead and give you policy limits. I promise you not. I wish I had it recorded. We do have it recorded. I can't put that information out, right? Because we had to sign, release documents, but we got policy limits for that person. It was over 100,000. And they literally told me, we have never had an attorney who was able to articulate the way you did what you were going to demonstrate at trial.
Speaking of an NDA, does y'all signed an NDA?
Well,
right?
our client signs a release.
Okay,
Yep,
so
yep.
Stephen Twitch Boss, are you familiar with his case? Are you familiar with him?
No.
He was the DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Oh, gotcha.
And
yeah, Twitch. Though he committed suicide, right? Okay,
well, they
yes.
claim he committed suicide.
Okay.
His widow made his mother and brother and other close family members who wanted to view his body at the funeral before they closed, before the funeral was over. They wanted to view the body before the funeral started.
Okay.
She made them sign an NDA.
Oh.
Did the family have any type of remedy? Like, no, she's the wife.
Yeah, not really.
But did they have any type of remedy?
I don't want to say, I don't want to answer definitely because I don't practice law in that state. I believe they were in California, right? Is that where he passed away? Was in California?
Yeah.
So those would be the laws that govern that. I don't practice in California, but it from a I'm gonna give you the personal response and then the legal response. From a personal wise, I'm like, why would they need to sign an NDA in order to view the body? From a legal standpoint, if she is the wife and the laws support something like that, then yes, she has every right, more than anybody else, to say what does and does not happen moving forward with his body. However, what we have seen, you remember in the Kobe Bryant, the unfortunate death of him and his daughter and all those other people that were killed in that plane wreck. You remember that the helicopter crash. You remember that there were firefighters that were taking pictures of their remains and putting them out there and selling them because of that celebrity status. I could see someone attempting to take photos and sell those photos. I know it's very sick, but I have seen a lot. I have actually seen where I've gone to the funeral of those cases that I told you for those wrongful death cases. And I've gone to the funeral because those clients, their family members become like family members. But I've gone to some of those funerals. I've seen people take pictures of people in their casket.
Yeah.
Now, why? I don't know. It's just, but I don't think it's too strange that she wants that because he was a celebrity, and you never know people's intentions.
So this is what I thought was off about it. Okay, yes, he's a celebrity, and that is a concern.
Yeah.
So certain people, but mama,
Yeah, mom, that's reaching.
I'm not even talking about a wild, crazy, belligerent, uncivilized mutt mama.
Right. Okay.
I'm talking about a loving, caring, nurturing mother who was with him every step of the way, the woman who brought him into the world.
Right.
She made that woman sign an NDA to view her son's body.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she says she made him sign the NDA because she didn't want anybody profiting off of his death, right?
Yeah.
But then she goes and put a book out, a tell-all memoir,
right,
where she starts to revealing things about Twitch, including the fact that she claims he had a drug problem.
Gotcha.
These are things nobody knew.
She didn't want anybody to profit but her. That's
her.
What it sounds like.
She wanted to make sure
Gotcha.
she was the only one profit off
Gotcha.
of his death.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really, really
disgusting.
It was disgusting.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
To do that, and another thing, I'm gonna say it, man.
Go ahead and say it.
I think she need to be investigated because she, I know you're not familiar with the case, but she accepted his death way too fast. Like he allegedly left his home, took an Uber, went a mile down the street, and checked in to a seedy motel.
Okay.
And offed himself. He left his mansion, his big ass house,
to go to a motel.
a mile away to a seedy hotel.
Yeah.
And in LA and off himself. Now, before his death was reported, he was allegedly a happily married man. He loved his children. He and her used to do the dance videos and stuff, right?
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so they always together. The man's happy. He lights up rooms when he walks in.
Right.
He has no history of depression.
And they claimed he was depressed or something all of a sudden.
But all of a sudden, he offs himself.
Yeah.
And then within 24 hours, she puts a statement out saying that she accepts these findings. I'm not doing that.
No. This is what I'll say, and I have wrongful death clients, their family members. If the individual had been murdered by somebody else, I have literally walked clients through keeping our foot on the prosecution's neck, and if there is a rock that we felt was unturned, I could probably pull up several emails where I'm like, hey, I spoke with the family. They provided me with a recording of a conversation that they had from X. Can you guys go ahead and move forward and investigate it? I've documented it. I've recorded conversations with the prosecutor, the investigating officer, where we've gone in personal meetings. So I don't just do the civil side out of a courtesy because, again, those people turn into like family members. I have handheld families through the criminal process to make sure that people that may not have been suspects before are like, hey, you need to look at them. And here's why. Let me go ahead. And sometimes you do have to, law enforcement can be lazy. I'm going to go ahead and say it. As a former prosecutor, I have seen lazy law enforcement. Not all, but there are two, I think one is too many. And so I have assisted to make sure you turn over that rock and see what's underneath it. So that should have been done.
Well, I think you should reach out to Connie Boss Alexander.
Okay.
That is Twitch's mother's name.
Okay.
And that woman, I really, really love that woman because I like her grace.
Gotcha.
I like the way she moves. She's just such a regal woman.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think she needs your help.
Well, she needs to give us a call. Yeah, let me say to Miss
You can't
Boss,
make the first call?
No, we tend not to. There's something called barratry, and I want to I always err on the side of caution, stay far away from it.
Connie Boss Alexander, please reach out to Audia Jones. Yes. What is your contact?
713-714-6519.
Law Office of Audia, Jones, PC.
Yes.
Listen, she is one of the best. Like, anytime there's a case like this, anything got to do with accidents and stuff like that,
Right.
even when it don't have to, she is such a gangster with it. I got to call her because, look, she's a fighter, and that's what I need. Anytime I hire a lawyer, I want a fighter. I don't want somebody to say, I don't know, I want a fighter. I want a killer, and that's the type of lawyer that Audia is, and that's why I rock with her. What I was thinking, though, is that, and we never had this conversation. We've had many conversations, but
all right.
I never asked you this before. You are a bulldog in the courtroom.
Yes.
You are very assertive and you handle your business. But when you come home, how does that work out with Deshaun?
Yeah.
And he being a lawyer also and a judge.
Yeah. I play I'm wife.
Yeah.
When I'm home, I'm wife and mom. I probably look like a completely different person. I do know how to turn it off and turn it on. My husband is the head of our household, undeniably, and I love it that way. But when I step into my attorney's shoes, I am leading the charge. I am in control. I am, but yeah, it's just two different worlds. I'm able to balance it like many other people are able to balance it. But yes, I think being a female, I do think it's important to be able to separate the two if you want to be married. If you don't, do your thing. Let it hang. Right. Let it hang all the time. But nothing works for everything all the time. And being turned on and aggressive and assertive all the time, nobody's going to want to be around you, And so on the flip side, but I have a wonderful husband. He is extremely supportive. Many of the ideas you see for marketing, advertising, that's him. That's him. He is the push behind it. He is an amazing accomplishment in his own right. So check him out, Judge Deshaun Jones of the 180th Criminal District Court in Harris County. He is a federal military court judge as well. And I don't know how he does it all. So between the two of us, yes, he leads the way. But I intentionally married somebody. I said, God, just send me to someone I could walk through the dark with and not have to open my eyes. And with him, I really don't have to if I don't need to. So at work, in my firm, in my role, I can be decision maker, and then at home, I can let loose and not have to worry about nothing.
Yeah.
I don't have to think. I don't have to make too many decisions. I was like, well, but what are we gonna do? What do you think? Here's my suggestion. What's your advice? And he comes with it. So that's how it's worked for 10 years.
Yeah. I would like to, at this moment, issue a mandate and sign an executive order for your relationship with Deshaun to be studied for those who are married and want to become married and happy.
Yeah.
Because being married is one thing. Yes. Being happy is something totally different.
Totally different.
But it's also important to know that when you are married and you are happy, you're not happy all the time.
Oh, correct.
And I think oftentimes us people as individuals, we look for that fairy tale where we're supposed to be happy all the time, like every day, all day.
That's not even realistic.
This person makes me happy, right? And I don't believe in a person making you happy. I think that a person can make you happier.
Correct.
But not happy.
Correct.
I do things to make myself happy.
Correct. I think a relationship's like an enhancement. It should be an enhancement.
Right.
It shouldn't be the end-all, be-all. It's an enhancement. Okay. And if it doesn't enhance you as a person, probably shouldn't be in it. Or if you are not enhancing the person you're with, they probably shouldn't be with you.
Right.
On the flip side. So I just think, you come to the table and you're not always whole right then. I laugh. There's some people I haven't told a lot of people this, when we got together, Deshaun and I, we went to law school together. But I was like, man, he loved me at a point where I didn't even really love myself. Times were rough. I was in D.C. I didn't, I had an issue with the bar exam the first time. I'm licensed in Maryland. as well as Texas. So I'm duly licensed now. But at that time, I had a hard time with the bar in Maryland the first time because I came from Texas and I made the jump real quick. And I was like, man, I'm an attorney. I finished, I'm a lawyer. I finished in the top 5% of my class. Like, why am I the one that failed the bar the first time? And I mean, he was just like, you can do it. He was like, it builds character. He just gave me this confidence. Like, listen, everybody puts their pant leg on one leg at a time. I remember he told me that one time, and I'll never forget it. So anytime I have someone that tries to big dog or big boy or big girl me, I'm like, you put your pants on one leg at a time. So short of you doing something, and I got a killer in my corner. My husband did 2 tours of duty to Iraq, and
you got a real killer.
right. He's not no punk. So he's not the usual, just regular killer. Judge. Yeah. So, but no, outstanding man, outstanding character. So you cannot go into a relationship. Like to put that kind of expectation on somebody, I think that's disgusting, honestly. You wouldn't go into a friendship like that. And you go into a friendship like that, the people, they're not going to want to be around you. You relying on me to make you happy. That's strange. Yeah. That's strange. No, you got to, come to the table with something, or come with an open mind and a good attitude at the very least. If you are not 100% or whole at the time, like I said, he loved me when I couldn't even love myself. But I came with an open mind and a good attitude, and like, hey, you every direction you gave me as a friend led me to a positive outcome. So I'm gonna let you lead this relationship. What are we gonna do? You do have to have a head and you have to have a tail, and everybody can't be the chief. So that's how we like it in our household.
Yeah. So make sure when you come see Audia Jones that you come with an open mind.
Yeah.
Because she is the chief.
Yes.
And you're going to have to be able to follow instructions.
Correct.
If you're coming to the professional for advice.
Correct.
Thank you, Audia, for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom.
You're welcome. And as always, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Anything that you want to make sure that you leave with the audience before you leave?
Just keep our number locked in. I always tell people the same thing. Keep our number locked in. You never know when you need it. I am here. Reach out, even if it's not our particular area. Like I said, we do accident and injury, but my passion is always to be a resource for individuals. I never like to see someone get bullied or left behind or be unsure. So, if you're unsure, give us a call. We'll point you in the right direction. If you've been in an accident or someone suffered a wrongful death, give us a call ASAP. Let us help you from the beginning. Let us be there to guide you, hold your hand, and we got you.
Ladies and gentlemen, attorney Audia Jones.
Yes, thank you.
No more talk.